In today's video, I'm gonna cover 10 JRPGs that surpassed my expectations. I honestly thought I wouldn't like them, or that they weren't my cup of tea, or that I barely expected anything. Others I knew will be good, but not that good. And others I promised I'd go back to one day, and well, I did, and they blew me away. So let's begin. Number 10. Xenoblade Chronicles X. A long time ago I played this game at a friend's house with low expectations. It was just for 20 minutes or so until I decided it wasn't for me. I've never been a fan of open world games, to be honest, so when I knew this was like that, I lost interest immediately. Years will go by and I will become a fan of the rest of the series, so I knew one day I'd have to go back to this and give it a proper chance. Obviously, I expected the worst. People that know me told me I wasn't going to like it. A million side quests will ruin it for you, they said. And well, they were kinda right. No spoilers, but near the end of the game you'll have to increase your affinity with a specific character that pretty much forces a lot of side content on you. I made a full review of this game not long ago, and also a big double rant about it. That one you can find on my second channel. The review, I'll leave it at the end. Let's say I developed a bizarre love-hate relationship with this game. So many good and bad things to say about it. Every single area is full of awesomeness, but also defects that is just unbelievable. In graphics it goes from great fan service and beautiful scenery to dull and bland visuals. In music you have some really cool and catchy themes, but also others that are straight up stupid or unmemorable. In gameplay, well, it's an open world, so exploring can get addicting, but too many high-level enemies ruin it sometimes. It's also one of those where the heck do I go type of game. In story, well, it's greatly written, but there's not that much of it and it carries itself more with, you guessed it, side quests. And finally, in battle, well, that's the one thing that's freaking awesome with no negative highlights whatsoever. It's great, and it makes you fight tougher enemies just to see if you have a chance. Until you don't. But there you go again after some grinding, especially since this particular Wii U version has no difficulty settings. Listen, this is not my type of game, but then why the hell did I put a gazillion hours into it? Because it surpassed my expectations. Number 9. Poison Control. I heard about this bizarre action RPG years ago, and from the trailers it looked interesting, a little bit too colorful for my taste though, so much pink and purple. But well, that's the classic color of poison, so it makes sense, right? What doesn't make sense was a third-person shooting and a silly girl running around poison stains. You telling me this is an action RPG? I was also aware that the scores and reviews for this had been pretty mixed up. I still wanted to try it because it looked unique and interesting, and you know I have a thing for those types of games. I was also scared it would be a modern piece of crap, if you know what I mean. So the physical version never went down in price. Patiently, I waited for years to see if at least the digital one was cheap, and luckily I got it for $4 on the PlayStation Store a little bit over a year ago. So I played it and it took me a while to get into it, but the immediate fascination with two things kept me going: the music and the extremely weird narrative. Playing as basically someone who died, stuck in some bizarre and poisonous version of purgatory, trying to find your way out, also trying to help your co-protagonist reach heaven. Yeah, in a game constantly narrated by two girls speaking through a radio, it's freaking weird. But that caught my attention, and yeah, the music is god tier in this game, incredibly catchy with a variety of genres. I'll admit that third-person shooting still threw me off because I suck at it, but I managed with the different types of bullets and the healing items you find around. Controlling Poison, though, your other main character, was a lot of fun. For a limited time you can go around the poison stains and remove them, but immediately after running out of time you can do it again and again and again. It's extremely addicting. Man, I'm glad I bought this game, as I honestly wasn't expecting it to be super fun and also dark and messed up. Number 8. Soul Trigger. Have you noticed that these videos are strictly about JRPGs? Today's list is no exception, but I also include every now and then a fan-translated one. Soul Trigger here surpassed my expectations for two reasons. One, I didn't even know it existed until I randomly found it in a fan translations list. And second, I thought it would be a boring Persona look-alike ripoff, and it sure wasn't. It's no masterpiece or anything, but I certainly wasn't expecting the game to be so intriguing, dark, and engaging. It's a bit repetitive since you only have one base and are sent into different missions every chapter, dungeons that have random encounters, some puzzles, and backtracking, and a boss waiting at the end. But since the music, the story, the characters, the low encounter rate, the girls, and the turn-based combat with a twist are so cool, I ended up loving it! However, I won't spoil the plot, but something happens halfway through that's quite impactful to say the least. All of a sudden you're playing with another party of characters in a second arc. I wasn't expecting any of that. Sadly, it isn't 100% fan translated, and there's some dialogue and anime cutscenes without English subtitles. There's also a glitch with the ROM, but if you watch my review, you'll get the explanation. Now, going back to the gameplay, I wanted to highlight the combat because it's one of those that's not really that special, but how it's handled makes it compelling enough. This is a hard game, so you'll have to do some grinding every now and then, but it needs to be in order for you to plan better strategies with the skills you use and how much percentage you'll increase for them against your enemies. So it's simple with a twist, interesting enough to keep you engaged. This is a really good game that easily surpassed my expectations. Too bad it never left Japan. Number 7. Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. I cannot believe I really like this game now. Many years ago I played Superstar Saga on the GBA and thought it was boring. Then I played Partners in Time and I met the same results. That's when I concluded I just wasn't a fan of the series. I wanted more Mario RPGs other than Paper Mario, so I thought this other saga would be interesting, but nope. So I gave up until I decided to give this, what is considered as the best of the bunch, and therefore the series, a last chance. The version I played is the 3DS one with an extra episode based on Bowser Jr., which I haven't played. But for the original game, I got Mario and Luigi going around in classic 2D with turn-based battles, but I also got Bowser moving around in 3D, destroying things and also fighting in turn-based battles. Not only that, I encountered a wide variety of penalties and conditions for the gameplay mechanics, lots of interactions between the characters, and a plethora of crazy minigames. The fact that you get to switch between Bowser and the brothers at any time and help each other out is very fun. I can't believe the creativity of this game, how it nails the pacing with something interesting happening over and over again. It never feels boring or dull, just a bit frustrating when you don't know where to go. But figuring that out isn't that big of a problem. It's insane how they fill this entry with many different surprises to keep the player engaged at all times. I applaud the developer. It didn't quite turn me into a Mario and Luigi series fan, but now I see it with a more open mind. Let's leave it at that. Number 6. Dragon Force. This is a classic strategy RPG exclusive to the Sega Saturn and a highly influential game. It influenced Brigandine, Generation of Chaos, and even Suikoden. What little I played many years ago left me wanting for more, but honestly I just never bothered. Until last year, of course, when I finally got the Saturn emulator working fine. I played the first couple of hours on stream, and with the help of several fans giving tips and explaining shit, I got through it and loved it. It blew me the hell away after that for how addicting and intense it is. In a nutshell, you select one of various nations trying to conquer each other for different reasons. The goal of the game is to conquer them all. So since everything happens in real time, it gets very intense. You go from sending commanders from one captured fort to another, to recruit different characters, capture enemy bases, capture enemy commanders, level up on real-time battles, suffer through ally betrayals, awarding your generals, classing up, letting them use other types of units. Should I go on? Anything can happen here. It's so unpredictable that your strategies can get you unexpected victories or ruin your perfectly set up base. Also, no permadeath exists here, thankfully. You know what, a full review of this game might be in order one day, but for now, all you need to know is that this game's freaking incredible. Number 5. Skies of Arcadia. Several years ago I promised that I will go back to this game to give it one last chance, so I did with the GameCube version and it surpassed my expectations. I first played this a lifetime ago and got sick of getting lost and random battles and I also thought back then it was a bit generic for my taste. After getting rid of it, something I regret now, I moved on and never went back to it until the Dreamcast version. Well, the encounter with it was far worse, so it didn't take me long to ditch it again and conclude I just wasn't a fan of this damn game. But New Year's resolution of giving some abandoned JRPGs a one final chance convinced me that third time's the charm, and well, it was. I journeyed with Vice and his lovely girls in a semi-open world, searching for some crystals. I swear I had no idea this game was inspired by Suikoden. You literally get a base late in the game and can start recruiting characters all over the world. Also, they can become members of your crew to do something at your base, of course, or to help you out during the ship battles, using points to buff or heal or become immune, you name it. So of course I recruited every single character, which made the game be over 40 hours long. That's quite a lot considering this is a JRPG from the year 2000. Back then most of them were 25 to 30 hours long. Of course, not everything was phenomenal here. You do have a big where the hell do I go problem about half of the time, and because of this, the encounter rate, while still low thankfully, still gets in your nerves. And also, the turn order during battle, no matter your character's agility stat, is one of the worst RNG I've seen in a video game. So that problem that made me ditch this game 15 years ago didn't go away. But since everything else was awesome, I decided to tolerate it until I beat it. What a great game, man! I had been missing out for so many years. There's so much to say, both good and bad though, that I might have to review this game one day. Definitely. Number 4. Yakuza Zero. Well, this isn't exactly what I'd call an RPG, but since it's so damn good, with strong RPG elements, I couldn't just cover it in one video, I needed a second one. It's like I need to get it off my chest, the fact that I became a huge fan of it thanks to the insistence of so many of you people recommending it. Of course, I reviewed this game not long ago, so I'll leave the video at the end. It's actually in the same one I mentioned with Xenoblade Chronicles X. Anyway, when I first played this, I admit I was expecting just another Yakuza game that I will enjoy and then probably move on. But I wasn't expecting to be blown away by such an incredible, well-written story, addicting gameplay mechanics, and the dual protagonist feature. It's all explained in the review, of course, but you'd be surprised to know a specific minigame also made me appreciate it 10 times more, considering I rarely enjoy or give a rat's ass about minigames in JRPGs. Well, I did here with a cabaret sim. You basically train the escorts to spend some time talking and drinking with guests that go from poor to wealthy or mega rich. They always tell you what kind of girl they feel comfortable with an emote, or they prefer a specific girl. Often the girls call out to you to bring something to their guests, and you have to guess what by seeing their signs. You have a time limit, but it's only to get as much profit as you can and increase your cabaret reputation. The minigame can be played forever, but it's got its own amazing side story, which is quite long. It could easily be its own game, And you can also recruit many different girls across the city. At this point, you already know I'm a big fan of recruiting characters in video games, so of course that increased my fun with this game. Anyway, sorry if this ended up being a little review about the minigame, but I needed to highlight it, Even if it doesn't sound appealing to you, Yakuza Zero is still a masterpiece that I strongly recommend and that I can't believe it far surpassed my expectations. Number 3. Trails into Reverie. You know, in a previous episode I said I knew this game would be awesome and that was it, so I didn't cover it. But I decided to include it today because the more I think about it, the more I realized it also surpassed my expectations, like big time. Sure, in terms of story, it was just an epilogue episode to wrap things up with the entirety of the Trails series, and mostly fan service for fans of it, but the gameplay mechanics were something I certainly wasn't expecting. The game was so good up to the point I ended up completing all post-game content, including the small visual novel segments. I did almost everything here, and that's something incredibly rare for me to do nowadays. You know that. The battle system became the epitome of the series, carrying over every single detail from the previous games like breakpoints, the orders, the combos, the special attacks. Man, it just freaking nailed it. Also, you know at this point I'm a sucker for JRPGs with tons of characters, so the fact that you get a crap ton of them across the series, and then you can keep getting more in the game's main dungeon was something I was not expecting. Yeah, people bitched about constantly switching between the three main characters and their parties and their missions, which meant re-equipping everybody new. But I don't know, man, that's also one of the things I like the most about it. I love playing games with different perspectives and points of view, story-wise or gameplay-wise, and just when I thought the music couldn't get any better, several themes blew my goddamn ears away to the point I can't get enough. In terms of story, it might not be the best Trails game, but in terms of gameplay, it definitely is. Sad to say this is the last great Trails game ever made before NIS America destroyed everything that came after it. Number 2, Odin Sphere. Both versions. The original PS2 version surpassed my expectations a long time ago. Flea market seller highly recommended it to me, convinced me to buy it, I bought it, took it home, fell in love. I've told the story before. You already know I often abuse my preaching of this game, praising every single aspect of it, with the exception of its ridiculous difficulty, its nasty spikes, and its broken-ass fatigue system. Well, all of that was gone with the wondrous remaster. I was expecting it to be just an upgrade in graphics, but I never thought it would be a perfect fix of every single flaw the original ever had. Apart from having new content like cooking on the field, new areas and bosses, it fixed the most troublesome features I suffered through before. No more stupid spikes, no more gruesome difficulty, and the best of it all, a way more balanced fatigue system. You could fight a hell of a lot more before your character felt tired enough to step back. The game was still quite challenging, but if you came from the PS2 original like me, you were already taught how to master it, how to deal with it. Real difficulty settings were added, not lies like in the original. In there, easy mode was still a powerhouse of madness, not here. Its glorious visuals now at 1080p resolution and 60 frames per second, man. Perfect performance, perfect gameplay. I can't forgive myself for not including this masterpiece in the very first episode of this video series. Number 1. Oh boy, I knew this game was great but never bothered with it because of a few things. It's yet another JRPG in today's list I gave a last chance, a third time's the charm, and it worked wonders. You'll be surprised with my story. I abandoned this years ago because there are some challenge quests, basically side quests, that are forced on you during the first 2 hours. I never liked that, so I ditched it once. A second time, I was more tolerant and completed the quests, but then it became, yes, another one of those where the heck do I go type of game. So I ditched it twice. Earlier this year, I forced myself to play it live, from the beginning, completely determined to give it one last chance. So I played the first couple of hours on stream, and after that, I completed the challenge quests and decided to lean on a couple of guides to know where the hell I was supposed to go whenever I got lost. And boy, you get lost a hell of a lot in this damn game! It forces you to explore every inch of it until you figure it out, and it wastes your time a lot with unavoidable battles. Also, as you may have expected, it's insultingly hard. But you know what? I'm not here to complain about this great game. That's a conversation or a rant for another time. I'm here to tell you that despite its crazy shenanigans, I beat it. And I almost abandoned it because I got locked into the neutral ending, which is ironically what I wanted. But to get the ending, guess what you need to do? I'll give you a few seconds to think. You need to complete like 20 goddamn challenge quests. I swear I rage quit when I found that out, convinced that I was gonna ditch it forever. But since this game is so freaking good, with phenomenal soundtrack, mature writing, dark twists, and its legendary press turn system and demon fusion, which are some of my all-time favorite gameplay mechanics in JRPGs, I completed them all. Yes, me. Every single one of them, until I beat the game and got my damn ending. I cannot believe the internet was right all along. This game is fucking awesome, and everybody who's into hardcore JRPG should play it. However, it ain't the masterpiece they say it is. Not with its gazillion annoying flaws. But as I said, that's a rant for another time. As it stands today, Shin Megami Tensei 4 is amazing, and it surpassed my expectations.
Congratulations on completing the quest.